The ancient plaza of Kharzoum was silent in a way that felt heavy. Tall stone pillars surrounded a black platform at the center. On that platform stood the reason why so many worlds had suffered, hoped, and failed. The ancient sword? It was embedded deep inside a block of dark stone, smooth like glass and black like space itself. Strange symbols ran along the blade, glowing faintly as if the sword was breathing. Legend said the sword had been there long before the first alien empire rose. Some said it judged civilizations. Others said it chose rulers of the galaxy. What everyone agreed on was simple. No one could lift it. Not the giants of Threx, whose muscles could tear metal. Not the mind lords of Velari, who bent gravity with thought. Not even the machine kings who tried with pure force and failed. Centuries passed, empires rose and fell. The sword never moved. Today another crowd had gathered. Dozens of alien species stood around the platform, soldiers, priests, scholars. Above them, hovering cameras streamed the event across the galaxy. This was not faith anymore. It was tradition. Every few years someone tried. Everyone failed. At the edge of the crowd stood a human. His name was Ethan Cole. He was not important. At least that is what the galaxy believed. Ethan wore a simple gray uniform. No armor, no rank symbols. Just a worker badge hanging from his chest. He had been brought to Kharzoum as a laborer, part of a small human group allowed to work under alien supervision. Humans were considered weak, short-lived, and mostly harmless. Ethan kept his hands in his pockets as an alien high priest spoke loudly. Let history witness once again. The priest declared that the sword remains unmoved, that no species alive is worthy. A massive alien stepped forward, tall, wide, with 4 arms and skin like stone. The crowd murmured with interest. This one was famous, a war champion. The champion grabbed the sword with all 4 hands and pulled. The ground shook, cracks spread across the stone platform. But the sword did not move. The champion roared in anger, veins glowing bright red, and was thrown back by an unseen force. He crashed into the steps unconscious. The crowd reacted as expected. Some sighed, some laughed, some looked bored. Another failure. Enough, the priest said. The trial ends. That should have been the end of it. Then Ethan stepped forward. At first, no one noticed. He was small compared to the others. Quiet, just another human, until someone laughed. Is that a human? An alien voice mocked. Did he get lost? Another said. This is an insult to the sword, a priest hissed. Security drones turned toward Ethan. Step back, human, a guard ordered. This place is not for you. Ethan stopped walking, but did not step back. He looked at the sword. Something about it felt familiar. He did not understand why. I just want to try, Ethan said calmly. Laughter spread across the plaza. A human. They can barely survive high gravity. This is a joke. The priest raised a hand. Let him, he said with cold amusement. The galaxy could use a reminder of its place. Ethan swallowed and walked toward the platform. Each step felt heavier, not because of fear, but because the air itself seemed to press down on him. As he reached the stone block, the noise faded. The sword's glow grew slightly brighter. Ethan frowned. That was new. He reached out. The moment his fingers touched the hilt, a low hum echoed across the plaza. The symbols on the blade lit up in deep blue. The ground trembled. Silence fell like a weapon. Ethan froze, heart pounding. He did not pull. He did not push. He just held the sword. High above, clouds began to swirl. What is happening? Someone whispered. The priests backed away. Their scanners screamed with impossible readings. Energy levels spiked beyond recorded limits. The stone around the blade cracked. A thin line at first, then another light spilled out. Ethan felt warmth spread through his chest like a memory waking up. Images brushed the edge of his mind, stars, fleets, and a voice too old to be sound. Not yet, the voice seemed to say. Ethan tightened his grip. The stone split. The sword shifted. Just a little. The plaza erupted into chaos. Impossible. The sword moved. Stop him. Security drones powered up, weapons charging. Ethan looked down at the blade, breathing hard. The sword was responding to him. And somewhere deep within the ancient weapon, something had finally noticed that humanity had returned. The sword had not been testing strength. It had been waiting. If you enjoy epic human sci-fi stories like this, gently consider subscribing to the channel. Your support helps bring more adventures to life. The plaza of Kharzoum was no longer silent. Voices clashed, fear spread, and alarms screamed across the ancient stone. Aliens shouted in different languages, some in anger, some in panic. The sword had moved. That single truth shattered centuries of belief. Ethan Cole stood frozen at the center of it all. His hand still wrapped around the hilt, the blade now fully awake. Its blue light pulsed slowly like a living heart. Security drones hovered closer. Their weapons glowed hot and ready. Red targeting lights danced across Ethan's chest and face. "Do not let him pull it out," one of the priests screamed. "This is heresy. This is impossible." Ethan heard them, but the sounds felt distant. His focus was locked on the sword, on the strange warmth flowing from it into his arm, into his chest, into his mind. Images flickered behind his eyes. Not clear visions yet. More like echoes, stars burning, massive ships drifting in deep space. And humans, not weak, not afraid. Standing tall among the stars, Ethan gasped softly. "What is happening to me?" he whispered. The sword responded. The blue glow brightened. The symbols along the blade rearranged themselves slowly, as if reading him. Scanners across the plaza went mad. Energy spikes surged beyond safe limits. Several alien technicians fell to their knees in shock. "This energy signature," an alien scientist shouted. "It matches ancient records, pre-collapse human records." The words sent a ripple through the crowd. Human records? That was impossible. Humans were newcomers to the galaxy, late to space, late to power, late to everything, or so everyone believed. "Restrain him," the high priest ordered. Now. 3 heavy armored guards rushed forward. Their boots cracked the stone as they ran. They raised suppression fields designed to stop even the strongest species. The moment the fields touched the sword's light, they shattered. A shockwave blasted outward. The guards were thrown back like broken dolls, their armor smoking, their weapons dead. The crowd fell silent again, this time not from boredom, but from fear. "The sword is protecting him," someone whispered. Ethan felt the truth of that deep in his bones. The sword was not just an object, it was aware. He took a slow breath, then another. "I am not your enemy," he said loudly. His voice echoed stronger than it should have. Carried by something unseen, the priests stared at him in horror. To them it sounded like a command, slowly, without meaning to. Ethan pulled. The stone cracked wider. Chunks broke off and floated into the air. Gravity bent around the platform. The sky darkened as clouds spiraled into a massive vortex above the plaza. Ancient defense systems buried beneath the planet awakened. Long silent machines hummed to life. Hidden towers rose from the ground, their surfaces glowing with the same blue light as the sword. "No, no, no," the high priest muttered. "This cannot be happening." Ethan felt pain then, sharp and sudden, as more memories forced their way into his mind. He saw humans standing before other species, not as servants, but as protectors. He saw wars against something dark and wrong, creatures made of shadow and hunger, things that did not belong in reality. And he saw the sword, not alone, but one of many. Ethan cried out and fell to one knee, still holding the hilt, still connected. An alien woman pushed through the crowd toward him. Her skin was pale silver. Her uniform marked her as a science commander. Not a priest, not a soldier. Stop this, she shouted at the guards. If you kill him, we may lose the only key we have. The guards hesitated. Fear and orders warred inside them. Ethan looked up at her. Their eyes met. You feel it too, he said quietly. This sword is not a weapon. It is a test. The woman swallowed hard. I feel something, she admitted. Like the planet itself is watching us. Above them, the clouds twisted faster. Lightning struck the towers, feeding them power instead of destroying them. A deep, ancient voice echoed across the plaza, not spoken through air, but through minds, human identified, bloodline confirmed. Judgment suspended, every alien froze. The voice was not alien, not human. It was older than both. Ethan's hands trembled as the sword loosened further. The blade slid another inch free, and the voice spoke again. The Guardian returns. Fear turned into chaos. Some aliens dropped to their knees. Others fled screaming. Several activated emergency beacons calling fleets from across the system. The priest pointed at Ethan with shaking hands. He must be contained. If the humans regain what they lost, the galaxy will burn. The alien woman stepped in front of Ethan, blocking the guards. Or the galaxy may finally survive, she replied. Ethan felt the sword pulse, as if agreeing, far beyond the planet. Deep in dark space, something ancient stirred. Something that remembered humanity and was afraid. Ethan closed his eyes, tightened his grip, and pulled again. The moment Ethan pulled again, the planet answered. A deep vibration rolled through Karzoon, shaking towers, ships, and stone alike. The sword slid halfway free, now its light blazing so bright that many aliens had to shield their eyes. The ancient voice returned stronger, clearer, and impossible to ignore. Containment protocols failed. Historical suppression lifted. Across the plaza, hidden panels opened. Massive holographic pillars rose from the ground, projecting images into the sky. Not symbols, not warnings, but history. The crowd watched in stunned silence. They saw stars forming, galaxies young and wild, and among them fleets of ships bearing a symbol no one had seen before. A simple mark. A circle broken by a vertical line, human ships. But not the weak patched vessels the galaxy knew. These ships were vast, elegant, and powerful, moving through space like guardians on patrol. That symbol appears in Forbidden's archives, an alien scholar whispered. It was erased from public record. The hologram shifted, showing humans standing beside other species, teaching, protecting, defending trade routes and colonies. Ethan's breath caught. These were not conquerors. They were shields. The ancient voice spoke again. Humanity was first among equals, guardians not rulers. Chosen not by strength, but by restraint. A wave of shock moved through the crowd. Priests shouted denials. Scientists stared at the data, unable to argue with what they were seeing. This is impossible, the high priest screamed. Humans were primitive when we discovered them. The hologram responded instantly. Another image appeared, humans retreating, their fleets withdrawing from the stars, their great cities dismantled, technology buried or destroyed. Humanity chose exile. The voice continued. After the war against the void, to prevent corruption, to allow younger species to grow without fear, Ethan felt tears burn his eyes. The memories inside the sword were becoming clearer, more painful. He saw humans voting to abandon power, to erase themselves from history, to start again as something smaller. The lie was not an accident. It was a sacrifice. Alarms screamed as orbital sensors detected incoming signals. Multiple hyperspace ruptures forming around the system. Fleets are arriving, an officer shouted. Galactic Authority fleets and independent powers. The priest's face twisted with fear and rage. They cannot be allowed to see this truth. Seize the human now. Guards advanced again, this time with heavier weapons. planetary killers designed to neutralize city-sized threats. The alien science commander stepped beside Ethan once more. Her voice shook, but her stance did not. If you fire, you risk triggering systems we do not understand. You may doom this world. The guards hesitated again. Their training screaming one command. Their instincts another. Ethan felt the sword grow heavier. Not in weight, but in meaning. He finally understood. The sword did not want to be lifted. It wanted to be accepted. Slowly Ethan stood. Still holding the blade, still only half free, he raised his voice. Not shouting, not commanding, just speaking. You erased us because you were afraid. Afraid that power would return. Afraid of what you would lose. The priest snarled. We preserved order. You preserved your control, Ethan replied. The sword pulsed approvingly. Suddenly the visions changed again. Darkness filled the holograms. Stars went out. Entire systems vanished into black tears in space. Gasps echoed across the plaza. The void, the ancient voice said. It was not destroyed, only sealed, and it is waking. Ethan felt a sharp pain in his chest. A warning, a countdown. Far away, something massive shifted, drawn by the sword's awakening. The alien commander stared at the images in horror. If this is true, then the galaxy is defenseless. Not defenseless, Ethan said quietly. Just unprepared. The priest laughed bitterly. You expect us to trust a single human with ancient power. Ethan looked at him, then at the terrified crowd. No, he said. I expect you to decide. The sword reacted suddenly. A burst of energy shot into the sky, forming a single clear message visible across orbit. Guardian candidate active. Alliance required. In orbit, ships stopped firing. Commanders across different species stared at the same message. Confusion spread, then fear. Ethan felt the sword urge him. Not to pull harder, but to choose. He could take the blade fully now. He knew that. But doing so alone would awaken forces beyond control. The alien commander stepped closer. Lowering her weapon. If you finish this, she said softly, you will change everything. Ethan nodded, already knowing. Then stand with me, he said. She hesitated only a moment, then placed her hand on the blade above his. The sword flared brighter than ever. Across the galaxy, ancient machines stirred. And deep within the void, something screamed in rage. Because humanity was no longer hidden, and the sword was no longer alone. The moment the alien commander placed her hand on the blade, the sky shattered. Not with sound, but with light. Dozens of hyperspace tears opened above Karzoon like glowing wounds. One by one, massive warships emerged. They came from every direction. Galactic Authority cruisers, independent war clans, corporate fleets armed with illegal weapons, all drawn by the same signal, Guardian candidate active. The plaza shook as shockwaves rolled down from orbit. Dust and stone rained from ancient pillars. Civilians screamed and fled. Priests fell silent, staring upward in horror. Ethan felt the sword react instantly. Its glow sharpened. Focused, no longer gentle. It knew this moment. Orbital cannons charged. Energy signatures spiked. Targeting systems locked onto the plaza. They are aiming at us, the alien commander said quietly. Her voice steady despite the chaos. They are not aiming at us, Ethan replied. They are aiming at the sword. As if to prove his words, a command signal echoed across every channel. By authority of the Galactic Compact, surrender the artifact and the human immediately. Failure to comply will result in planetary sterilization. The message repeated in dozens of languages. Cold, final. The high priest laughed hysterically. You see human. This is what you bring, war. Ethan turned slowly to face him. No, he said. This is what fear looks like. The sword pulsed again, stronger this time. A wave of pressure rolled outward, forcing everyone back, except Ethan and the commander. The ancient voice returned, sharper now. Judgment phase escalated. Hostile convergence detected. Hidden weapons rose from beneath the plaza, not crude cannons, but elegant constructs of light and metal. A defense grid that had not been seen since before recorded history. In orbit, several warships fired. Blinding beams lanced toward the surface. The sword screamed. A dome of blue energy exploded outward just in time. The beam struck it and bent away, ripping through the upper atmosphere instead. Silence followed, then panic. They blocked a fleet-level strike. Someone shouted over open channels. Ethan staggered. The power was overwhelming. His knees nearly buckled. The alien commander grabbed his arm. "You cannot hold that alone," she said urgently. Ethan nodded. "I know." The sword showed him why. Not with words, but with truth. He saw ancient humans standing with allies. Never alone, never above. Always together. In orbit, commanders began arguing, shouting over each other. Some demanded immediate annihilation. Others demanded retreat. Then something changed. A ship at the edge of the fleet powered down its weapons. Then another. Then a third. Across the plaza, holographic projections flickered to life, showing faces from different species. Leaders, admirals, governors. "We are detecting ancient systems activating," an alien admiral said. "If we fire again, we may trigger something catastrophic." The high priest screamed, "Do not listen. Humans are manipulators." Ethan raised his voice. Not shouting, but it carried anyway. "You are not afraid of me. You are afraid of what you erased." The sword responded instantly. A massive projection formed above the planet, showing the void. Darkness tearing reality apart. Fleets destroyed. Worlds consumed. "This is what is coming," the ancient voice said. "And this is why humanity was chosen." Fear rippled through the fleets. Veteran commanders felt it deep in their instincts. One voice cut through the noise, clear and steady. "If this human is lying, then killing him solves nothing. But if he is telling the truth, then killing him dooms us all." The speaker was an old warlord from a species known for never retreating. "I vote we listen." More voices joined. Reluctant, uneasy, but no longer hostile. Ethan felt the sword relax slightly. Not complete trust, but possibility. Then a new alarm screamed, sharper than all the others. "Void breach forming," someone shouted. Uncharted coordinates. The sword burned hot in Ethan's hands. Pain shot through his arms. His vision blurred. The ancient voice spoke with urgency. Time expired, final test required. The alien commander tightened her grip on the blade. "What does that mean?" she asked. Ethan swallowed hard, already knowing the answer. "It means the sword will choose, right now." The blade began to rise on its own. Stone shattered completely. Fragments lifted into the air, frozen in place. Across the galaxy, ancient devices awakened. And deep within the void, something turned its attention fully toward Karzoon. Because the sword was about to be freed, and the galaxy was about to learn whether humanity returned as a weapon or as a guardian. The sword rose higher on its own, floating above the shattered stone, as if gravity no longer mattered. Its blue light deepened, shifting toward white at the core. The air vibrated with power so intense that many aliens collapsed to their knees. In orbit, the fleets fell silent, weapons powered down not by command, but by instinct. Every sensor screamed the same warning. Something else was coming. Ethan felt it before the alarms confirmed it. A cold pressure wrapped around his mind. Not pain, not fear, but hunger, the alien commander gasped. Her eyes fixed on the sky. "I feel it," she whispered. "Like something is watching us from the dark." The sword pulsed in response. A slow, heavy rhythm like a heartbeat under strain. The ancient voice returned softer, now but filled with urgency. "The void remembers humanity. It fears what you were, and it hates what you chose to become." Above, the planet space twisted. not tearing like hyperspace, but folding inward. As if reality itself was being crushed, a breach opened, not large, not yet. From it spilled darkness thicker than shadow. Shapes moved within it, wrong shapes that bent and shifted in ways the mind rejected. Several alien ships fired in panic. Their shots vanished the moment they touched the darkness. Consumed without impact, it is feeding, an officer screamed. It is feeding on our attacks. Ethan staggered as another wave of memories slammed into him. This time there was no filter. He saw ancient humans standing before the void. Not millions, but few, tired, wounded. Refusing to give up, he saw entire fleets sacrificed to seal a single breach. Worlds burned to deny the void entry points. And finally, he saw the choice: seal the void forever, or destroy it by becoming something just as terrible. Humanity chose restraint. They buried their greatest weapons, including the sword, and erased themselves from power. Trusting that one day they would be worthy again, Ethan cried out as the vision ended. "Now I understand," he said. "This sword is not meant to win wars. It is meant to stop us from becoming monsters." The void reacted violently. The breach widened. A massive tendril pushed through, ripping apart nearby debris. Ships began to explode, pulled apart by invisible forces. Crew screams filled open channels, then cut off abruptly. Panic spread. Fleets broke formation. Some tried to flee. Others froze, unable to act. The ancient voice spoke again, louder now. Final condition required. The alien commander turned to Ethan. Her face pale. "What condition?" she asked. Ethan looked at the sword, then at the void. His voice was steady, but filled with weight. "The sword cannot be wielded by one species alone. Humanity failed when it stood alone. This time it demands unity." As if responding, the sword projected a symbol across the sky. Two figures standing side by side, human and alien. Across orbit, commanders stared in silence. Understanding slowly dawning, an alliance signal opened automatically. Every fleet receiving it at once. Link your power, link your trust, or fall separately. One by one, ships began to respond, energy fields synchronized. Weapons recalibrated, not for destruction but containment. The void screamed. A sound that did not travel through space, but through thought, causing several beings to collapse, clutching their heads. It knew what was happening. Ethan felt the sword grow lighter, not weaker, shared. The alien commander placed both hands on the blade now, her energy mixing with his. The light expanded, surrounding them both. "I do not know if this will work," she said quietly. Ethan met her eyes. "Neither do I, but running will not save us." The sword lifted fully free at last. No explosion, no shockwave. Just a deep resonant hum that echoed across the system. The ancient voice spoke one final warning. Guardian authority granted. Failure will mean extinction. The void surged forward, enraged. The breach tearing wider, reality bleeding. Ethan raised the sword for the first time. Not as a conqueror, not as a king, but as a human standing with a galaxy. And the final battle for everything began. The moment Ethan raised the sword, space itself seemed to hold its breath. The blade no longer burned with wild energy. Instead, its light became focused, calm, and heavy with purpose. Across orbit, fleets stopped fleeing. Commanders stared at their displays, watching impossible systems linked together. Human-compatible architecture awakened inside alien ships, rewriting limits in real time. The sword was not giving power. It was unlocking cooperation. The void reacted instantly. The breach expanded violently. Dark tendrils lashed outward, ripping through space like claws. Two cruisers vanished, completely erased without sound. Screens filled open channels. Discipline shattered. Fear took over. Ethan felt the weight of it all crash down on him. Every death echoed through the sword, through him. The ancient voice spoke again, slower, now strained. Guardian authority acknowledged. But authority alone is insufficient. Ethan clenched his jaw. Then what is required, he demanded. The sword showed him the answer, not a vision, a choice. He saw two futures branch before him. In one he released the full power of the sword alone. The void was destroyed violently, completely. But the backlash shattered half the galaxy. Billions would die. Humanity would become feared gods once more. In the other future, he did not command. He trusted. He shared control. Victory would be slower, more dangerous. But life would survive. Ethan's hands trembled. The alien commander sensed it. She stepped closer. Her voice steady despite the chaos. "What do you see?" she asked. Ethan swallowed. "A future where I win, and a future where we survive." Before she could respond, the void struck again. A massive wave of darkness surged forward, smashing into the defensive formations. Several ships failed instantly, their energy fields collapsing. A commander screamed, "We are losing cohesion." Ethan made his decision. He lowered the sword. Not in surrender, but in humility. "I will not rule you," he said quietly. His voice carried through the sword into every linked ship. "I will not command you." "If we stand together, we stand as equals," the sword reacted. Its light flared outward, branching into countless streams, each one linking to a different fleet, different species, different minds. Authorization shifting, the ancient voice announced. Distributed guardianship initiated. Across the system, alien crews gasped as control interfaces changed. No longer isolated, no longer alone, the void shrieked. The sound tore through thought and space alike. It felt something it had never faced before, unity. Ethan screamed as power flowed through him, not concentrated, but shared. The alien commander held him steady, her energy anchoring his. "Stay with me," she said urgently. "Do not let go." "I am not letting go," Ethan replied through clenched teeth. "Not this time." Together they raised the sword again. Not as a weapon, but as a signal. Across the fleet's weapons reconfigured. Not firing beams, but weaving fields. Layers of energy locking together, forming a massive containment net. The void slammed into it. Reality screamed, stars dimmed. For a moment, it seemed the net would fail. Cracks spread, ships strained. Crews collapsed from overload. Ethan felt himself slipping. The sword growing unbearably hot. Blood trickled from his nose. The ancient voice whispered, "This is why humanity was chosen. Not to dominate power, but to endure it." Ethan roared defiance, drawing on something deeper than strength. Something older than fear. "We choose each other," he shouted. "And that is something you cannot consume." The void recoiled. The breach trembled. For the first time, uncertainty rippled through the darkness. Then the void changed tactics. Instead of pushing outward, it pulled inward, trying to drag the fleets into itself, trying to collapse everything into nothing. The alien commander cried out. "It is trying to take you." Ethan felt it too, a cold grip closing around his soul, whispering promises of peace, of silence, of rest. He nearly gave in. Then he felt hands gripping his arms. Not just one pair, but many, human, alien. Different species, different minds, all linked through the sword. Through trust. "Hold on," someone whispered. Ethan opened his eyes and smiled. This time he was not alone. The sword blazed brighter than it ever had. Not white, not blue, but something warmer. Hope. The void screamed in true fear now. As the containment net began to tighten, slowly, relentlessly. The final outcome was still uncertain. But one truth was clear. The galaxy had made its choice. And humanity was no longer standing alone in the dark. The containment net tightened slowly across space. Layer after layer of combined energy pressed inward. Not crushing, not destroying, but sealing. The void fought back with everything it had. Dark waves slammed against the net. Reality twisted, stars flickered like dying lights. Inside the storm of power, Ethan felt himself fading, not dying, but thinning, as if the sword was pulling something essential from him. The alien commander sensed it immediately. Her grip tightened. "Stay with me," she pleaded. "Do not disappear now." Ethan tried to answer, but his voice would not form. His thoughts blurred. His memory slipped. The ancient voice returned one final time, no longer distant, no longer neutral. Final truth required. Why humanity was chosen. The sword opened fully, not outward, but inward. Every linked mind across the fleets saw the same vision. They saw ancient humanity at its height, not as rulers, but as watchers. They saw humans standing between younger species and extinction, taking the first blows, paying the highest cost. They saw the temptation of absolute power, the ability to erase all threats forever, and they saw humanity refuse it, because domination would make them no better than the void. The vision shifted, showing the future that never happened. A galaxy ruled by perfect order, perfect peace, and no freedom. Humanity chose uncertainty instead. The sword was built to test one thing above all else, not strength, not intelligence, not even courage, restraint. Ethan understood now. The pain faded, replaced by clarity. He found his voice quiet but unbreakable. "We were never meant to rule," he said. "We were meant to protect until others could protect themselves." The sword responded. Its light softened. No longer a weapon, but a key across the galaxy. Ancient machines finished awakening. Not fleets of conquest, but guardians, defense systems designed to activate only through shared command. The void screamed as the containment net closed completely. The breach collapsed inward, folding darkness into nothing. For one terrifying moment, space went silent. Then light returned, stars burned steady again. Ships stabilized, alarms fell quiet. The void was sealed, not destroyed, but locked beyond reach. Ethan collapsed to his knees. The sword lowered gently with him, no longer heavy, no longer burning. The alien commander knelt beside him, tears streaking down her face. "You did it," she whispered. Ethan shook his head weakly. "No," he replied, "we did it." Across orbit, fleets powered down weapons completely. Open channels filled with stunned voices. Disbelief, relief, hope leaders appeared on shared displays. Not demanding, not threatening, asking, "What happens now?" Ethan stood slowly, supported by many hands. Human and alien alike. "Now we remember why we exist," he said. "Not as masters, not as gods, but as guardians together." The sword rose one last time, projecting a final message across the galaxy. Guardianship restored, unity verified, trial complete. The ancient structures across Karzoon began to sink back into the planet. Their task finished, their watch renewed, the sword dimmed, its symbols settling into a calm, steady glow. It no longer needed to judge. The galaxy had passed the test. Ethan looked up at the stars, no longer distant, no longer afraid. Humanity was no longer hidden, but it was also no longer alone. And the legend would one day be told in simple words. No alien could lift the ancient sword, until the human tried and chose not to rule.